Sometimes, the hardest arguments in Jewish life aren't between Jews and the world, they're between Jews and each other. And one of the hardest right now is about the proposed draft of Haredi or ultra-Orthodox Jews into the Israeli army. Before I start, I want to say something. I don't like using labels like Haredi or Chiloni, secular, or religious Zionist, Dati Leumi. We're all Jews, one family, one people, and we're also, all of us, unique individuals. But for the sake of discussion, I'll use these words to describe communities. And I say this because this isn't a fight between sides. It's a family argument between brothers and sisters who share the same history, the same destiny, and the same people, even if we see our responsibilities differently. And I was personally even a bit unsure about speaking out on this subject because it's such a charged issue, but I realised actually for that very reason it's important to. And I welcome, by the way, your comments, your input in the comment section. But I realised that if we can talk about this honestly and respectfully, maybe, just maybe, we could actually start to bridge that divide. You might be surprised to hear this, but I actually used to believe what many of the anti-draft campaigners say. I thought that joining the army would inevitably lead to secularization, that the Torah world just needed to keep learning and Hashem would handle the rest, and that maybe if the state itself were completely observant, completely religious, then Haredim could cooperate with it more fully. But over time, seeing the realities of Israel, the sacrifices being made, and what our Torah actually teaches about responsibility and partnership with Hashem, I began to realize something. My change of opinion wasn't a change in my belief in Torah or observance at all. It was the opposite. It was a change in my understanding of the Torah's message, that the Torah doesn't only call us to live in holiness, but to bring holiness into the world. That Hashem doesn't just want us to be sustained by miracles, He wants us to partner with Him in creating them. Let's begin where we must, with respect. Most Haredim in Israel genuinely believe they are engaged in the holiest work a Jew can do, sustaining the world through Torah. Their idealism is real, their devotion is sincere, their discipline, often through hardship and poverty, is breathtaking. They've built communities devoted entirely to Torah and holiness. That deserves admiration, not mockery. But many other Israelis feel something very different. Many in wider Israeli society look around and see their sons and daughters in uniform, risking and sometimes giving their lives, while much of the Haredi world says, fighting in the army is not our role. That pain is real too. For parents sending their children into danger, it's heartbreaking to feel that other Jewish families can live in safety under the same flag, protected by the same soldiers, but without sharing that same fear, that same risk, that same sleepless worry. But it's important to understand what many in the Haredi community actually mean. It's not necessarily rejection or hostility. Many genuinely believe that their Torah learning is their way of protecting the nation, that their prayers and study bring spiritual defense to Am Yisrael, complementing the soldiers' physical defense. And by the way, this is appreciated by many Jews who are not in the Haredi community. And yes, there are some in the community who are outright dismissive or even hostile towards the IDF. But many others feel deep Ahavas Yisrael, love of the Jewish people, brotherhood, and gratitude to the soldiers. They simply believe their contribution takes a different form. So the question isn't about bad faith. It's about what's right when we face two conflicting realities: the deep spiritual conviction of Torah learners and the very real practical burden that falls unevenly on others. Because today, it's not only about fairness, it's also about necessity. The IDF, by every realistic measure, cannot sustain the current situation indefinitely without broader participation, including from the growing Haredi population. Israel's defense establishment has said repeatedly that manpower is reaching a breaking point, with the Haredi community projected to make up nearly 1/3 of draft-age Jewish men within the next decade. Continuing the current exemption policy simply isn't viable. Not to mention the unbearable strain this has placed on those who do serve, soldiers and reservists who have been called up again and again for months at a time, some fighting on multiple fronts, many utterly exhausted physically and emotionally. When Israel was founded, Ben-Gurion, the first prime minister, exempted a few hundred yeshiva students so Torah could be rebuilt after the Holocaust. And let's not forget the Torah world was decimated. But today, when the Haredi community makes up nearly 14% of Israel's population? That arrangement feels impossible to maintain. It's not malice that drives the frustration, it's a deep sense of shared burden. And resentment, if left unchecked, can erode unity, and with it, our strength as a nation. And yet, both sides are holding a truth the other needs to hear. The Haredi world is right that Torah protects. Chazal, the sages, say, Torah shields and saves. But the Torah never meant for prayer and learning to replace action. It meant for faith to guide action. When Amalek attacked, Joshua fought, while Moses prayed. The Torah tells us that Israel prevailed only when Moshe's hands were lifted towards heaven and Yehoshua's soldiers fought below. Neither faith alone nor action alone was enough. That's the model. Torah and defense, heaven and earth, body and soul, each complementing the other. So yes, Torah protects the soldiers, but the soldiers are also the way Hashem channels that protection into the world. Torah provides spiritual merit, and the soldiers, through their Mesiras Nefesh, through their sacrifice, their courage, they create their own immense merit too. Both are expressions of divine service, one through study and prayer, the other through sacrifice and action. Without Torah, our defense lacks soul. Without defenders, our Torah lacks a vessel to live in. They're not rivals, they're partners. That's why gratitude must go both ways. No one in Jewish history has ever supported Torah study like the modern state of Israel. Tens of billions of shekels have gone into yeshivas, stipends, housing, food programs, childcare. Maybe it wasn't always given enthusiastically, but if someone funds your institutions and protects your streets for decades, reluctance doesn't erase generosity. And if we use a state's hospitals, roads, and security, we are stakeholders in that state, whether we sing Hatikva or not. The Torah commands Hakaras Hatov, gratitude, as a sacred duty. If Moshe could show gratitude even to the Nile, how much more must we show gratitude to the people and structures that allow Torah to flourish in Israel today? And indeed, that support has helped Torah flourish like never before. Think about it. Under Ottoman or British rule, there were hardly any yeshivas and certainly not thriving in the way they are now. No safety for Jews to live in as they do today. Only when there was a Jewish state, defended by Jewish soldiers, could Torah return to Eretz Yisrael in such strength. For the first time in 2,000 years, Torah is being learned on a massive scale in the land of Israel, because Jewish soldiers made it possible. The body protects the soul, and the soul gives meaning to the body. Each exists for the other. And that leads to something even deeper. The Torah doesn't only tell us to pray and learn, it tells us to possess the land, to build it, work it, defend it, and sanctify it. That isn't a distraction from holiness, it's part of holiness. Now some will say yes, but we're not meant to really rebuild a state until Mashiach, the Messiah, comes. I don't want to get into that full debate here, but I personally don't believe that applies when the nations themselves granted the Jewish people the right to re-establish a home, as the UN did in 1947, rather than it being taken by force. But even putting that argument entirely aside, this is at its core not about ideology at all. This is simply about pikuach nefesh, protecting Jewish life. Hashem doesn't want us to be sustained forever, like children in the desert. The sin of the spies was that they wanted exactly that, to stay spiritually babied, living on miracles, with no confrontation with the real world. But Hashem said, no, grow up, partner with me, bring my presence into the land through your own hands. That's the essence of spiritual adulthood, not running from responsibility, but sanctifying it. Hishtadlus, human effort, isn't a necessary evil. It's part of Avodas Hashem, serving God. Defending lives, planting, building, healing, all of it is serving Hashem in the physical world. We're meant to go into the material world and bring God into it, to elevate it and uplift it. That is the project of Torah, to bring God to every corner of the world. That's why the Torah was given to us in the desert, in the most physically and spiritually barren area, to show us that yes, even there, we are meant to and we can bring God there and uplift it. And this partnership with Hashem is precisely what rebuilding Jewish life in the land of Israel, despite its flaws, can represent. Yes, the the early state was founded mostly by secular Jews. But that old caricature of a purely secular, anti-religious state is no longer true. Today, you see more and more Israelis, soldiers, artists, journalists, openly invoking Hashem's name. Soldiers saying Tehillim before battle. Families returning to Torah. And let's also acknowledge as well that there are many soldiers, often in the Dati Le'umi religious Zionist camp, who are completely Torah observant, and they pray and they study while being in the army. And these people have shown the most incredible devotion to their Torah in every single sense, body and soul. And look at the incredible emunah, incredible faith we've seen from many of the released hostages. People not raised observant at all, yet emerging from captivity, thanking Hashem, speaking about miracles, and urging everyone to draw closer to Torah. To fail to see the holiness in these tzaddikim, even if they don't fit your classic frum label, is to be blind. Every Jew is a piece of Hashem. Every soul, as we say each morning, is pure. Neshama shenasata bi taharahi. Hashem, the soul you place within me, is pure. The soldier, the hostage, the yeshiva student, each one is a vital, holy, indispensable part of Hashem's plan. And if parts of the state don't yet reflect Torah values, then get involved. Bring Torah into it. Elevate it from within. And when a young soldier runs into fire to save others, that too is Torah. Remember Moshe Rabbeinu after the sin of the golden calf. The people had just committed one of the worst sins in our history, and yet Moshe said to Hashem, "If you destroy them, erase me from your book." He was willing to sacrifice everything, even his own place in the Torah, for Am Yisrael. And Hashem approved. Yasher koach sheshibarta. Well done for breaking the tablets. Moshe reasoned that by breaking the tablets, even though he had no idea how God might react to that, a daring, dangerous move, he did it so the Jewish people couldn't be held accountable for committing a sin. Because if there's no Torah, there's no sin to be breaking. An extraordinary act of self-sacrifice in order to protect the Jewish people. The message is staggering. Protecting Am Yisrael comes even before halacha itself. That's why Esther could suspend some of the mitzvahs of Pesach, Passover, and call all of Israel to fast. Because when Jewish survival is at stake, pikuach nefesh overrides. If faced with a choice, Hashem prefers that we take care of his children over serving him. In fact, that is the best service of him, just as it gives a parent so much pleasure to see their children taking care of one another. In fact, there isn't any contradiction, because when children take care of one another, they are showing to their parent that they value what their parent values, which is all of the parent's children. And that's exactly what our soldiers are doing. They are living Torah, the Torah of Moshe and Esther, by risking their lives for their fellow Jews. The Lubavitcher Rebbe once told someone who couldn't find the grave of a known tzaddik, righteous person, to instead find the grave of any fallen Israeli soldier and pray there. And he said that one who gave his life defending the land of Israel and the Jewish people has reached an incredibly exalted spiritual level. Many of these soldiers, observant or not, are tzaddikim shel tzaddikim for that courage. We are truly living among exceptional heroes. And in truth, many are deeply observant in other mitzvahs too. In chesed, gratitude, love of Am Yisrael, and they're doing the greatest mitzvah of all, risking and sacrificing their lives for their fellow Jew. We should be looking up to them. They are heroes of the body and the soul of Israel. Still, fear runs deep. Many in the Haredi world fear that exposure to non-frum environments like the army will corrode their values. That fear is understandable. Of course, I understand the concern that army life can sometimes weaken religious observance. That's a serious issue, and we shouldn't pretend it doesn't exist. But avoiding the challenge won't fix it. Engaging with confidence will. If the Haredi world takes part, even in designing separate frameworks and religiously supportive environments, then the army itself can be elevated. The truth is, fear of exposure can't be our guiding principle forever. The Torah is not fragile. It's fire, and fire spreads light wherever it goes. But if Judaism can only survive behind walls, what does that say about our confidence in Torah? Of course we need boundaries, clear, strong ones, but a wall so high that no light can enter or leave stops being a fence of protection and becomes a prison of fear. The Torah was not meant to hide, it's meant to illuminate. We are called to be a mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. That doesn't mean isolation, it means elevation. That doesn't mean we're meant to go looking for places to challenge us or tempt us. But it does mean that if we're needed somewhere, we should go with confidence. Look at Yosef HaTzadik, Joseph. He didn't retreat from Egypt. He brought Hashem into it. Look at Chabad. They go to the most secular places on earth. Not because they're naive, but because they're confident that Hashem's light can shine anywhere. And they don't get influenced, they influence. Fear shrinks holiness. Faith expands it. So, what would a balanced model look like? A protected core of exceptional Torah scholars, the Shevet Levi, the tribe of Levi of our time, learning full-time, supported by private and state funds, and around them, adapted national service frameworks for others, including roles in combat units, intelligence, cyber, logistics, medicine, and community service, all designed to maintain Torah standards and family life while sharing national defense. These frameworks should also provide dedicated time and space for Torah learning during service as well. But for that to succeed, the state and the army must also take responsibility to ensure genuinely accommodating, religiously respectful environments where observant Jews can serve without compromising their faith. If the system proves that it can protect spiritual life as seriously as it protects physical life, trust can begin to grow on both sides. And you know what? It's already happening quietly. The Belzer Rebbe has approved such a program. 150 Hasidim serving in non-combat roles, returning home nightly, remaining fully observant. That's not surrender, it's partnership. The courage to build bridges instead of walls. Every bridge begins small, but every bridge begins to heal. Torah teaches us, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh Bazeh. All Jews are responsible for one another. That means the soldier and the yeshiva student, the medic and the mother, the volunteer and the rabbi, we are all spiritually bound together. No Jew can say, that's not my problem. We rise and fall as one people. And above all, our sages teach something even clearer. It was disunity that destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, the temple, and it will be unity that rebuilds it. It was unity, ke'ish echad belev echad, that allowed us to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai, and it was disunity that preceded October 7th. If nothing else, every one of us from every background needs to step back from ideology and indignation and remember this. Hashem doesn't ask us to agree on everything. He asks us to stand together. When he sees his children side by side, that alone is enough to move him to rebuild his home among us. That unity is more important than who wins this debate, because unity is the vessel for the divine presence itself. Fear divides, faith unites. Both sides care deeply about the Jewish people. Both are trying in their own way to live out the values they believe will protect and uplift us. One believes Torah sustains the world, the other believes safeguarding life is the highest expression of our Jewish values. Both are right, and both need each other. Without soldiers, Torah has no home. Without Torah, soldiers have no purpose. Hashem didn't give us two Judaisms. He gave us one mission, to bring his presence into this world through faith and action. So maybe the real question isn't Torah or the army, but how can Torah and the army uplift each other? Because the world doesn't need Jews who hide. It needs Jews who shine. Fear divides us, faith unites us. If we truly trust in Hashem and the eternal power of his Torah, then we can walk into the world with confidence, humility, and pride, bringing his light wherever we go. That's the Judaism of Yosef. That's the courage of Moshe. That's the holiness of our soldiers and our sages. And that's the unity that can heal Am Yisrael and rebuild Hashem's home in our time. Before you go, you have to check out the trailer for our new documentary on Moshiach, the Jewish belief about the Messiah, what he will do, how the world will look after his coming, and why his arrival is close. And if you want to watch the full thing, just click the link below in the video description. For thousands of years, the Jewish people have carried a promise that history is not a random cycle, that suffering and darkness and exile are not the end of the story, that one day the world will be redeemed and the Messiah, the Moshiach in Hebrew, will come. But what does that actually mean? Who is Moshiach? When will he come? How will we know he's real? Why would God design a world that waits so long for redemption in the first place? And what will life feel like after he comes? With AI and machines beginning to replace work, maybe we're already catching a glimpse. But then what will we do with our days? The prophets spoke of that world long ago. In this groundbreaking JTV Plus documentary, we uncover the truth about the Jewish vision of the Messiah, who he is, why it matters, and why his coming could be closer than you think. Join us as we reveal the truth about history's most anticipated figure. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.